everyone. I'd like to begin my talk with a very brief, very simple mindfulness practice. And this is a participatory exercise, so I encourage you to follow along as I'm speaking. And it only has 3 steps. Step 1, choose an object of focus. Now, the object of focus we'll be using today is the breath. It's simple, it's consistent, and it's available to everyone right now for free. So as I'm talking, you can begin bringing your awareness to your breath, noticing it inside your body, maybe in your nostrils as you inhale and exhale, or in your stomach as it rises and falls with each breath. And by choosing to focus your attention on this one thing, you're actually creating the opportunity to become distracted. Now that you have a goal, now that you're sitting here trying to focus on your breath, within a few moments, you will undoubtedly become distracted. And this could be a number of things. It might be something you see out of the corner of your eye, it might be a noise in the room, it might be physical pain or discomfort, or any number of thoughts or feelings that pop up at any moment. That's awesome. This is step number 2. Just notice that. Notice whatever distracts you. And this is an important point. Try to keep a non-judgmental perspective. You don't have to be upset that your mind wandered away. You don't have to start thinking about whether it's good or bad that you're thinking that thought. Just notice wherever your mind wandered to, and then jump right back into step 3. Return to your object of focus. So right now, I'd like to begin this for just a few moments. So find a relaxed posture. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes and bring your awareness to your breathing, noticing it inside your body. Whenever your mind wanders, just notice and gently bring it back to your breath. In a few moments, I'm going to ring a bell. When this bell rings, you can slowly open your eyes, bringing your awareness back into the room, fully present of this moment. So this practice is basically how I started my first ever college class right here at UNC-Asheville 4 years ago in the August of 2012. It was a freshman seminar class taught by a literature professor, Dr. Rick Chess, and I really had no idea what to expect. But the class was called Metamorphosis of the Body, Heart, Mind, and Soul. And in retrospect, this class totally lived up to its title. The class, and the mindfulness practice in particular, really helped to guide me through a metamorphosis, a change, a transformation in identity that I've gone through here in my 4 years at UNC-Asheville. So I want to return to this practice for a moment and just offer a little more perspective on what I think it's really doing. From a scientific perspective, what you're doing by returning to this focus over and over and over again is forming and strengthening connections between neurons in your brain. It's actually like mental exercise. You're transforming your brain, improving your capacity for focus, for concentration. But thinking of this from a more experiential perspective, you're really just developing a better relationship with yourself. Especially if you begin doing this practice consistently, you start to become more aware of your subconscious thoughts and feelings. You know what's bothering you. You know what you're thinking about on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's really important. So this practice has tremendous individual benefits, but it also has benefits for groups and communities. I think mindfulness practice is really the ideal way to begin an important dialogue with others. I think there's a reason that Dr. Chess chose to begin his class like that, and there's a reason that I chose to begin with it today. This mindfulness practice offers us all a moment to see what we're bringing with us into the room. It lets us know what's on our mind, what we're feeling in our body, and then it offers us all an intentional moment of transition into where we're about to be going. It's a common experience that we can all start our time together with. So I encourage you to use this talk as an opportunity to practice mindfulness. It doesn't have to stop when you open your eyes. Tune into what I'm saying, and when you become distracted, as I know you will at one point or another, just notice where your mind wandered to, and gently, without judgment, bring it back to the talk. So I'd like to return to my freshman year of college now, back to my first week here at UNC-Asheville. And this may seem strange for some of you to hear, given that I'm up here talking in front of a bunch of people, but I actually do struggle with social anxiety from time to time. I feel really comfortable in a class. I feel pretty comfortable giving a presentation, but I struggle in less clearly defined social situations. For example, the breaks today. Every time we went outside, I felt totally awkward. I I don't know where to stand, how long to stand there, who to talk to. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. But fortunately for me, I found something in my first week at UNC Asheville that really helped to ease a lot of these social anxieties. I found a Slackline. This is a picture from my first week at UNCA. And for those of you who don't know what a slackline is, it's basically a piece of webbing that you tighten between 2 points, usually trees, and then learn to balance on. This is my friend Patrick Green, who eventually went on to become my business partner. And he set up a slackline during my freshman year here at UNCA. And I walked past it, and I'd never seen anything like this before, and he invited me to try it out. And I realized right there, this was a defined space. This gave me something to focus on. I didn't have to worry about how long I was hanging out, how much or how little I was talking. I could just step on the slackline, give it a try, and then go sit off to the side and let someone else take a turn. But more than that, I started to notice connections between the slackline and that same mindfulness practice that I was doing in class. These principles, choose an object of focus, become distracted, return to focus, that doesn't have to just stop with the breath. You can apply that to anything. So I applied it to slacklining. Only this time, my focus wasn't in my breathing, it was in my posture, it was in my body. So when I would become distracted, instead of returning my awareness to my breath, I would return it to my body. And this really is how I spent a lot of my first semester at college, and this is how I made a lot of my friends. And it wasn't really about being good at slacklining, it was just about hanging out, having fun, getting to know other people. So I found both of these things, slacklining and mindfulness practice, in my very first semester here at UNC Asheville. And together, they really helped to provide a foundation and a context for my experience here that followed. So at the end of that first semester, I went back to my parents' house in New York, and I had some time for solitude and reflection. This is where I made the commitment to begin a daily mindfulness practice. So every morning, I would wake up and do 20 minutes of what I started off with today. And at the same time, I was also gifted a slackline over the holidays, so I now had one of my own. I was empowered to set that up. So I returned for my second semester at UNC Asheville, well-rested and really ready for growth in these two areas. And the second semester for me was really a deepening of that practice, just staying committed to those two things. And this second semester was bookended by an opportunity to teach a slackline workshop at a private campout close to town. There was a small group that sent out emails and encouraged us to teach workshops, play music at a really small, low-key gathering in the woods, about 100, 150 people. And what this gathering provided for me at the time was a platform. Before, I had never had the opportunity to teach a slackline workshop in a formal sense, but this empowered me to do that. And I wasn't sure if I could, but I gave it a try. And I gave it a try with Patrick, and we taught it together. And this turned out to be an incredibly inspirational and really life-defining moment for me. So after this campout, I went back home and I created Slack-Librium. So we basically came up with a name, we came up with a logo, we came up with a concept to teach slacklining and mindfulness workshops, and we basically built our own platform. Now it wasn't just Jesse and Patrick setting up a slackline, it's Slack-Librium building a slackline installation and teaching workshops. So we created an organization. And at that point, now that we had this organization, we had to do something, fulfill our mission. So that's when I learned about the power of an email. Because at this point, our organization had done absolutely nothing. We were just formed. We had not done a single thing in real life. But we had an idea. And I found that ability to articulate and express that idea to people that I have never met before in my life through an email could lead to a lot of opportunities. And in the past 3 years, I've been fortunate enough to travel to over 20 events with Slack-Librium in 9+ different states, bringing this education all over the country. We've been to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Washington, D.C. We've even been as far as Arkansas and Oklahoma. And each of these events provided a new platform, a new experience for us to practice and build a resume. And before you know it, we had a resume. We had a list of things that we had done. But I didn't just want to take this to events. So after our first summer of doing just 4 events, I brought that experience and that confidence back with me to UNC Asheville. And in the spring of 2014, I signed up for a health and wellness class with Professor Amina Batata. And this was a service learning class, which means that each student was expected to do 15 or so hours of community service before the end of the class. And it was really awesome because we were basically able to choose whatever we wanted. So I talked to Amina about my experience teaching Slackline workshops and asked if I could potentially bring that into a public school. And she basically told me, if you can make that happen, go for it. That would be awesome. So again, I used the power of an email, and I sent out emails to a bunch of Asheville City schools, and Asheville Middle School wrote me back. They were interested. So I got introduced to the gym teacher, I went to the school, had a meeting, set up some Slacklines, and this is when things started happening really fast. They set it up, we picked a date, and I basically came back to UNCA and got permission from my professors to skip a week of school to do this program at the middle school. And it was really fun. I got to design a curriculum, and I got to implement that. And it looked a little something like this. So this was one of the smallest classes that I worked with, probably only around 15 students. But some of these classes got as large as 45. And I only had about 4 or 5 usable Slacklines. So obviously not all of them could be doing it once. I had to be creative. So we came up with groups. 3 of the groups would be slacklining and learning skills related to that. And we'd also learn additional mindfulness activities. We would do the little practice that I started with today. We would teach them yoga, trying to emphasize that mind-body connection. And this smaller group also allowed for a more personal connection with these students. So I did this for a week, Monday through Thursday, 6 classes every day, and this was another platform, more experiences working with a totally unique, different group of people than I've ever done before. And this is the moment, this week of my life, when I really realized the full potential of what I was doing. I realized that slacklining could be used as a sort of Trojan horse for mindfulness education. This is a picture frozen in time, but imagine this picture unfreezing and then add 15 to 20 more students. This was pretty chaotic. It was not a Zen-like, quiet, calm, peaceful atmosphere. I don't think that I could make these students sit silently for 40 minutes and focus on their breath. I don't think it's possible, at least in the gym class environment. But they all wanted to learn how to slackline. They were all interested in trying to walk across this rope. But hidden within that slackline lesson are some really fundamental mindfulness concepts that I think are really important for these students. So opportunities lead to more opportunities. Overall, the program was very well received. And afterwards, I talked to Professor Batata about expanding the program. And we applied for a grant from the North Carolina Center for Health and Wellness, and were able to do a project called Mindful in the Middle. And this grant offered us some financial assistance. We were able to buy equipment for the school, and we were able to do 2 more weeks of programming, this time with pre and post surveys to measure effectiveness. And opportunities lead to more opportunities, and after this grant, I got connected with IRL, in real life. This is an after-school program network based out of Asheville Middle School, and they provided me another platform. They welcomed me in to offer a slacklining after-school program. And this is a different platform. Rather than, 1 40-minute class or 2 40-minute classes, this is a 12-week after-school program that met bi-weekly for an hour and a half, working with a group of 5 to 15 students, depending on the session. So this allowed for some different things. I was actually able to form these personal relationships with the students. And we were able to take things into more depth. They were actually able to set up the Slacklines. We were able to, do expanded lesson plans, learning about things like the history of slacklining, positive psychology, emotional intelligence, and we would do different types of mindfulness practices every day. So I really started to become connected with these students. I really started to work with them one-on-one. And I realized that while we had this group curriculum, this overarching curriculum that we all wanted them to benefit from, we also started to have individualized goals with all of these students. I would recognize that they're all at different places in their life and they all need different things. Some need help with confidence. Some need help with self-limiting belief systems. Some need help with, joining the group, and some need help with taking a step back to provide an opportunity for others. And this platform really allowed us to work one-on-one with the children. But I want to take a few minutes to just talk about some of the problems that these students are facing. 84% of the children that I worked with in my last program were on free and reduced lunch program. Many of them are struggling with ADD or ADHD. They've been on and off of medication, looking for something to help them focus. Some of them have really tough family lives. There might not be a place that they can go after school. That's why they're there. There's nowhere else they can go. So, when these kids show up to school every day and they go math, science, English, history, no one is addressing these issues. And how do you expect children to learn if they can't even get through their home life? So I think that the program that we're bringing in here is really something that's addressing these issues. And I think it's addressing them in a holistic way. education for the body and for the mind. So the theme of this event is about millennials, people born between 1980 and 1990. And the Slackline was actually invented in 1982. So in many ways, it's kind of like a millennial. And now when I talk about what I do, I always have to stop and ask people if they know what a Slackline is. It's a fairly new thing. Like millennials, a lot of the world hasn't gotten the chance to see what the Slackline fully has to offer. So my goal for the next 10 years, my hope, my dream, and my goal is that slacklining education will be a part of every public school gym class curriculum in the country, and that mindfulness education will have come along with it. And that when you look at this picture, it won't seem that out of the ordinary. Thank you.